afternoon again, brothers and sisters. Or was it this morning? And we're going to look at the persecution of the churches. I, as you know, support Open Doors Ministries, www.opendoors.com, who go in and help those Christians under persecution. But I just want you to look at this video first.
Hello and welcome to A Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. A new report shows that the number of Christians killed for their faith doubled in the last year, more than 2,100 compared with just over 1,200 the previous year. And although Muslim countries make up the bulk of the list where Christians are persecuted, the communist country of North Korea is number one for the 12th straight year. And the report was released by the Christian watch group Open Doors. David Curry is the president of Open Doors, and he joins me now from Washington, D.C. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much.
So why is North Korea on the top of the list for the last 12 years?
Well, I think everybody knows that North Korea is a very strange country indeed. What people don't understand is how dangerous it is to be a Christian in North Korea, to identify yourself as somebody who wants to read the Bible, who wants to make choices about your own faith. That's a very dangerous thing in North Korea. And for the last 12 years, it's been ranked the top of the list of the most dangerous places here on earth to be a believer.
What is life like in Korea if you're a Christian?
Well, certainly if you're a Christian in North Korea, you need to be a secret believer is what we would call it, where you can't read your Bible in the open. It's very dangerous to identify yourself as a Christian. We believe and we know that there's at least 50,000 Christians in concentration camps today in North Korea. And considering that today is Kim Jong-un's birthday and old retired basketball players are over there celebrating his birthday, it's a very strange contrast indeed, considering the tens of thousands of people who are in prison for their faith.
In comparison, though, to the things we hear about in, let's say, areas of Pakistan and Somalia and, areas of other Middle Eastern countries, we don't hear as much coming out of North Korea, and that's why it strikes us as a little bit strange that North Korea would be number one above all these other Middle Eastern countries that we hear such horror stories about persecution.
And the reason why you don't hear a lot about what's happening to Christians in North Korea is because the control is so total. In some countries, there's some freedoms, and the violence against Christians is noted in the news media. When you have a bombing in Pakistan, it's a very dangerous place to identify yourself as a Christian, certainly. But you do hear about it. Here in North Korea, the control is total. You're not allowed to carry Bibles. There isn't exposure to the kinds of persecutions and real horrors that are happening to Christians. The reports that we're getting out that have been identified and confirmed by the UN about what's happening to Christians, the kinds of tortures that happen to them in these concentration camps, is absolutely inhumane.
You mentioned in the concentration camps, and are we assuming that American Kenneth Bay is in one of those concentration camps, or do we know?
Well, I don't exactly know where they have Kenneth Bay, but I know that he's certainly in very difficult conditions. And we're hoping that he will be released, but we have nothing that would tell us that the situation is going to get any easier for Christians in North Korea in the future. It certainly seems to be getting more dangerous and more difficult.
Now, before I move on to the other countries that are on the list, what makes Christianity so feared, I guess, among the leaders of North Korea?
Well, I think what you have there is a quasi-Stalinistic regime. It's sort of reminiscent of 50 years ago in the Eastern Bloc countries where they want to limit personal freedoms. Christianity has a sense of being involved with personal freedom and as part of its theology. But I also think there's a weird theocracy that's been developed over 3 generations there in North Korea that is especially fearful of any sort of spirituality or personal faith that would run contrary to the fact that Kim Jong-un, his father and his grandfather, consider themselves God. So I think that idea, those two philosophies are in direct contrast.
So worshiping of Jesus is in direct conflict with worshiping of your dear leader, I guess, then.
That's right.
One of the other top 10 lists on the list is Iran. And that is where Pastor Saeed Abedini is being held. We know the situation about him, and what is it about Iran that puts him in the top 10?
Well, Iran is another one of those countries that is very difficult. There's limited freedoms for individuals to convert to Christianity or any other faith outside of Islam. Islamic extremists are very prevalent within the country and make it very dangerous. And oftentimes, because of the theology that's backed by Islamic extremists, if people convert, even their family members are called to turn against them and report them to secret police or to groups that would be extremists. So Iran is a very dangerous place. It's not just Pastor Saeed. We're very concerned about him and his safety, but it's, you know, hundreds of others that are imprisoned as well.
I want to get to some of the other lists. Somalia, the Al-Shabaab movement, the Muslim extremist movement, they are number 2 on the list. What puts them at number 2?
Well, this is the first time that a country in sub-Saharan Africa it has been ranked that high. And what we're seeing is a growth of Islamic extremism. 9 of the top 10 countries in our world watch list that Open Doors puts out every year are dominated by Islamic extremist elements. And certainly that would be one of the main countries. And there are groups within it that are really bringing very dangerous attacks against Christians, against personal property, killing Christians, killing pastors. So all sorts of difficulty happening there.
You know, I shouldn't be surprised, and many people are surprised, but in Iraq, that is also on the list. It is number 4. Excuse me, yes, it is number 4. And here you've got a situation recently that in Fallujah, particularly, that where Al-Qaeda is making a comeback. Is that one of the reasons it's on the list?
That's right. Just before Christmas, Open Doors was getting reports that there were potential strikes against soft targets, Christian churches, and certainly then on Christmas we had 2 bombings in Iraq. What you have in Iraq is a government that either seems unable or unwilling to protect its citizens that want to be Christians. It's maybe not necessarily the government itself, although there's some question about that, but certainly Islamic extremist elements within Iraq are attacking Christians, are making it very difficult to be a follower of Jesus in that country.
So, David, one last question about the situation, because it's very easy to sort of parcel these countries out as sort of separated, but when you combine the list, you can see that 9 out of the top 10 countries where Christians are persecuted are Muslim majority countries. 36 out of the 50 top countries where Christians are persecuted are Muslim majority countries. So it seems as though when you look at that kind of list, Muslim extremism is the number 1 threat, really, to Christianity and Christians.
That's right. When Open Doors started to work in these areas, typically you'd see communist oppression 50 years ago. Today, it's undoubtedly Islamic extremism as a main driver of persecution of Christians around the world.
Why is that? What is it collectively about these countries? Because if it weren't for Christians, it seems like they would be fighting each other.
Well, there are a number of factors, and every country is different. In some cases, there are governments that have instituted Sharia law and seek to force conformity to a religion of the state. In other cases, you have a theology that's driven in some sects that is very exclusive and wants to eliminate choice and freedom of choice. When Christianity is allowed to be in an open marketplace of ideas, I think that's the best possible scenario. And it's not just Christian minorities. There are minorities, religious minorities around the world which are persecuted in various areas. It just so happens that Christianity is the largest religious minority in the world today.
All right, I want to thank you very much, David Curry, president of Open Doors. And you can go on the website to hear more about and see more about the World Watch List for 2013. It's Open Doors USA, opendoorsusa.org. Thank you so much, David Curry, for being on A Spirited Debate.
Okay, and don't forget Open Doors. We have a prayer list. I subscribe to Open Doors. I've supported Open Doors in the past, and I get a letter from them every month and a prayer list and a book of what they're doing. And it's worth going to Open Doors, www.opendoors.com, I think. But as soon as you put Open Doors in, you'll get it. what it's saying, brothers and sisters, is what it said in Matthew 24:9. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me, Jesus. It's prophecy fulfilled again, isn't it? It's what has happened. I know it's happened to a lot in the past, but here it is again in a big realm by all nations, or certainly lots of them. And we're looking at the enemy creeping in on God's people, on the church. And we see it creeping in all sorts of ways. In Canada, how many ins have I got to put in Canada? We see it in lesbian, gay, bi, creeping in, eventually they take over. And then we're not allowed to say things about any other religion, but people can draw us down, Christians down, anytime they want. We can see it creeping in, even in our comfort zone. But what I'm calling for is prayer too for these people. It's Open Doors Ministry. Do get their prayer list and see what they're about, because they're helping. They're sending people in. I sit comfortable. I don't have to go to war. The worst I can get is an insult, and I can live with that, but I won't lose my wife, my life, or my children. I won't lose my property. I won't go to jail. I won't be tortured. But it's happening. They're getting martyred. North Korean propaganda video details Christian martyrs' mission from the enemy to build underground churches. So we're doing lots of work with Open Doors. Open Doors is doing a fantastic job. I don't know of any other ministry that works within the same bounds as Open Doors, but all adds to the prophecy being fulfilled, and that's what I'm rushing to do and get out to everybody so we can spread the word. Share this video all over the place. Share it. Not for me. This channel will not be about shortly. Certainly won't matter to me, but it will matter to me in the sense that it'll be out there talking to people in the tribulation and helping them out, because they can still be saved, and they might want to fight through to the end. Very difficult, but people, it never ceases to amaze me, the strength of these people, these Christians under persecution. They're amazing. I don't think I could hold up. I mean, I go back to a Richard Wurmbrand, who was imprisoned in Russia for 17 years, who had his stomach bloated, poured down water, beaten on his feet for 17 years, would not deny that Jesus is Lord. But over 54 prophecies have been fulfilled since 1948. We are rushing to the pinnacle of rapture. Brothers and sisters, look forward to it. If the Trump envoy is going to Israel now, so we're looking in Israel news to find out what is going to happen now that Israel has no king. It has no leader. Is God going to step in? Are we going to step out? I don't know. All I can say is may God bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you, and be gracious to you. To the next video. And always, God bless.